Hey, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about tips relating to programming C++ with Unreal Engine. Because there's a couple things that along my journey I've had to figure out that I think you right there, would really appreciate to know. Because, especially if you're starting out, not things that are super clear right off the bat. So let's get right into it. So, first things first. Sometimes your C++ code is not going to be doing what you want it to do. And you might think that your only solution is to go and debug it by adding a bunch of UE logs or print strings or whatever kind of stuff. But if you use an IDE like Visual Studio, there is another way. You can actually run the engine from hitting the little green play button, the local Windows debugger, or if you don't want the engine to stop as soon as you hit stop inside of Visual Studio, what you can alternatively do is once the engine is running, go into Visual Studio, go debug, attach to process, search for Unreal Engine, click on it, and then hit attach. After which, you will be able to just reattach until you regenerate your project files. It'll allow you to regenerate as long as, you haven't deleted all your Visual Studio files and such like that. Right? So there's first number tip. The next little tidbit of information is that a lot of the time when you're working with Unreal Engine and C++, you will have to close down the engine before you compile or compile from Visual Studio because the live coding is a useful feature, but sometimes can get like a little bit, gunked up and stuff like that. So for those big things, you're going to end up doing, if you make big changes, introduce new classes, all that kind of stuff, like you would probably use just like compile from Visual Studio. However, if you're making quick like number changes or simple little things that don't have like a massive amount of like code to it, so you're changing one line, changing a number, whatever kind of thing, then you can quickly just change the code, then hit the compile button in the bottom right of the editor, which, obviously will allow the engine changes to reflect a lot quicker. You ever try and make a file directory that makes sense when you're actually labeling it, but actually takes way too long to do your includes when you go to include it in other files? Well, you can actually reduce how long the includes that you have to make are by going into your build.cs and adding it to your include path, so that automatically anytime you try to do includes, there's certain directories that are automatically just like included so that you don't have to specify it whenever you're trying to include a header file. Sometimes you'll be working with plugins that exist in separate modules, and whenever you try to go search them up, the module names don't immediately come up. If you absolutely need to, what you can do is you can go and find the .u plugin file, look inside of there, and you'll see in the modules section that the module name is there, clearly displayed, available for you to just check out, and then you can copy it and paste it into your build.cs of like your dependencies. A lot of the time, the documentation available online is a little bit, it's missing a decent amount of information. And so the best way to combat that challenge is you look through the engine code, because the good thing about Unreal Engine is they kind of make that available to you to have a look through. And you can actually breakpoint throughout it as well, so that you can see what the execution is doing, what values it's using, and all that kind of stuff. And if you're trying to look for how to override things and how things should be used, it's probably your best way to approach that. Sometimes you'll be working with a specific tool, or for whatever reason need to use a specific compiler and SDK version for your C++ Unreal Engine stuff. Now, it is possible to specify this stuff in an engine level capacity, where you can go into your app data and specify it for the engine version and all that kind of stuff, and that's cool. But Alternatively, you can go into the save folder, then the Unreal Build Tool folder, and inside of there, you'll see the build configuration.xml. You can swap out which toolchain, compiler, and Windows SDK you actually use, and also change other things for different platforms as well, so that it builds with the specifications that you want to provide to the engine. If you did find this helpful in any kind of way, then please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, so that you can see more of this kind of content if it helped you at all. And that would be cool.